Welcome to the SunDried Tomatoes podcast. I'm your host and creator, Anthony Otso. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find the audio-only version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Please follow, download, and subscribe where applicable. For those listening to the audio version, I also have the video version on the SunDried Tomatoes YouTube channel. Please subscribe there as well and check out other shows that will feature sports, brewing, music, food, other random things. I have my show Random Reactions on IGTV as well as YouTube, some other videos on the NFL draft and European football or soccer to those in the United States, and a few new series that are both also out on YouTube right now. Legends of the Diamond, where I talk about some of the greatest ball players of all time that weren't allowed to play in the MLB from the late 1800s to early mid-1900s, and Brewing the Facts, where I show you my process of home brewing a raspberry jalapeno wheat ale, also talking about interesting facts, such as brewing in medieval times or the origins of beer pong. You can check out both shows in its entirely, 4 episodes each. Both season ones are on YouTube right now. If you want to go check those out, please like and subscribe there as well. And you can also follow me on Instagram at ECLECTIC_IOZZO. That's eclectic _ EOTSO on Instagram to learn a little bit more about myself and also to see some companion pieces that I will have every once in a while from YouTube and Instagram videos. And today is a very, very, very special episode of the SunDried Tomatoes podcast, as it's the first one that's face-to-face. We also welcome back Javier Hurtado, who, if you remember, was in the first ever episode of this podcast, talking about the short-lived European Super League. And we had some interesting things to say about that, if you remember. It was pretty fun. Today, we're going to talk about some Premier League soccer, as the season at this recording hasn't started yet, but it will start this weekend, technically. A couple of games will have been played by the time you listen to this podcast. We'll also talk about the Champions League, other international football talk. Obviously, you've got the bombshell Messi news that's been coming out this whole time. And again, this is fun to be face to face and talking to Javi over here, as everything's been online, and hopefully I'll have more face to face podcasts in the future, especially when I have my proper studio set up. But right now this is gonna hopefully be good enough. And first, Javi, what's going on, man? Obviously you came up to visit Minnesota, so what's up with you, and how's it been so far?
Well, your beer's delicious. The jalapeno beer is very good. That is what I'm drinking right now, and I love it. So very good job. We're here to basically hang out with some friends, but mostly to catch that White Sox game on Monday. And how about them Sox, I had a great series against the Cubs, and they're looking great. I kind of hope, Rayo doesn't keep on getting beamed all the time, but yeah. When you're boss, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And, it's at the time right now, still full stadium, from what I understand. COVID restrictions, I think we might have to wear mandates right now with mask inside, which is fine, no big deal. But, going to games in person with friends, even seeing you right now is a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're going to hopefully see a very good game on Monday. Yeah, and I'm excited.
Luis Robert might be back for this game.
Yes. Well, Yes.
So everyone listening to this or watching this, he might have already been back in rock and home runs and stuff. So hopefully we'll see some of the first.
Yes. I hope to see some internal fireworks. And they're not going to be shooting them off for him. But you know what? From what I've heard about the stadium, and I love Minnesota in general, but Minneapolis is a great city. Very cool. Everyone's very friendly here as far as I've ran into. I'm sure it'll be a little different going to a game with different opposing teams, but I'm excited for the food. I'm excited for our seats. Pretty good seats, I think we got. And it should be a fun game, and hopefully a big win for the White Sox. So.
Oh yeah, and hopefully by the time you listen to this, you can look back and it wasn't a big win.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, baseball is the big one that we're going on right now. as you talked earlier, the whole Messi thing happening. My dad's in Mexico right now, and he texted me, I think 5 a.m. He's like, it's happening. The medical's happening. He's going to PSG. And I'm like, holy crap. Messi just got done doing a huge press conference at Barcelona, and everyone was like crying and clapping. And, I remember when I first got into the sport, Messi, I think, was just coming out of the youth ranks and everything like that. And, Ronaldinho was playing for Barcelona, and it was Frank Rijkaard was the coach, and Barcelona has been known to play really good football, and obviously competing with Real Madrid and the Galacticos with David Beckham and Zidane and everything like that. So they were pretty much the team in Spain. So now it's Barcelona's turn coming in with all these big players. It was just around when Sergio Ramos started becoming a big name player in Real Madrid too. That's how far back it's been going. Yeah. But Messi, even in the beginning, a lot of comparisons with Diego Maradona, the Argentine connection it was always there. And seeing him evolve from being like a little stunted growth kid, and Barcelona helping him get to the point where he could excel past that, seeing to the GOAT, as they call him now. Basically, him and Ronaldo they've been battling together throughout their whole career of who's better. Messi's shorter, but he's like, his left foot is insane. And the way he scores goals, the way he maneuvers between people. And he also had one of those the hand of God goals too, just like Maradona, which, I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. It is. And we're coming to an era kind of like how in basketball where, LeBron's getting older, and we're seeing a lot of like the other players from that earlier 90s draft, like starting to retire too. I mean, seeing Vince Carter retire. I remember seeing that guy do dunk contests, flying, half man, half amazing. And it's like, oh my God, we got to appreciate some of these players and how good they are, because we're seeing them at their prime. Now that Messi's going to be leaving Barcelona, it's the end of an era. I mean,
were you surprised by that, by the way?
No, I mean, I was surprised that happened now.
Yeah,
because Kun Aguero left Man City. It was about time. He's declining, but him and Messi have a really good relationship, and Kun's wife's father is Diego Maradona. So like the ties there and everything like that. And Kun's son's godfather is Messi. So that's just like football legacy. Like that kid's going to have a really hard time like growing up. It's like, who's your grandpa? Who's your dad? Who's your godfather? Like, and it's
the expectations.
Exactly. And it's in their blood. I mean, Argentinians love football. They're crazy about it. I mean, we are too. Mexican people are as well. So, it's very exciting seeing what the future brings. And Barcelona, that's what they're at right now. They've overspent a lot of money. Starting even with my team buying Felipe Coutinho. It's a lot of money. And he didn't really take off that well. He was playing out of position, and it just didn't work for the system that they had. And then he got loaned out to Bayern Munich. He won the Champions League and the Bundesliga. So, a lot of people may be giving him saying like, oh, he's, injured all the time. He's washed up. But when used correctly, that guy, just like when he played for us, he was a magician. That's what they call him that for.
That's kind of how it goes. And actually that brings to the point. If everything clears and he ends up going to PSG, or to be honest, even if he doesn't go and he goes to some other team, are they going to gel together? Are they going to have the chemistry a lot? It's tough. Like in soccer, you got to know where people are going to be. You have to anticipate. There's a lot of crosses, and if you're, there's a lot to know. If the midfield has to know you, like, are you going to break at this point? Otherwise you deal with offsides and all that kind of stuff. And also to get you open, to get you chances. Are you going to be there? And then are you going to finish? Like, we know Messi can finish, but I've known guys that were fantastic, go to teams and then struggle to get goals just because it's a little different. Maybe they're in a different position. Maybe the pass isn't what they normally expect. It takes a little bit of time to kind of get used to your teammates. So you think he goes to PSG, do you think they're favorites in the Champions League? Or do you think that it's too hard to tell at this point? You have to wait.
Well, we look at the last Champions League and seen how far PSG went, to the point where, they were so close to getting to the final, and then, Man City and everything like that. I'm happy Chelsea won. As my dad's a huge Chelsea fan, he was over the moon that they won as well. Yeah. But like you said, it really depends on how they mesh, because at the end of the day, football, you may have outbreak players, but if they don't mesh together and they don't play in the system that they shine in, they'll suffer. Like, again, Coutinho is a big example of that. When you use him to what he's good at, like in Bayern, when he was doing it, being a super sub, or whether at the time they were like, had injuries with either Lewandowski or Molnar or something like that, he was able to fill those little areas where he doesn't have to run, because he can't run like he used to, but he can still be a good position, playing people in position and playing people to their strengths and make everyone else better. So Messi going to PSG, I prefer him going there than going to Man City. Now that Man City signed Jack Grealish to £100 million,
Nice to have all that money.
It must be nice. Yeah. 300, I think it was like £300,000 a week.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But, you have to also understand, one of the big things is Jack Grealish is also English, so he definitely has that English tax playing in the Premier League. I mean, now he's going to sell shirts like crazy, but he's a good player. He played amazing in the Euros. England looked great, and I mean, I'm always under the impression that England, a lot of the players there play more for the club rather than the country, especially when you look at more of like the northern part of England, but that's a different, topic and different debate for a different time. Yeah. But England, they've always had good players. They've always had a good team. I'm not a huge fan of Southgate, the coach, but sometimes he did make it right, and sometimes they look great. Yeah. And then, we can talk about, just like you talk about transfers, now we're talking about Harry Kane. And I'm sure Man City was like, man, we just threw all this money at Jack Grealish and we're about to get Harry Kane. Maybe we should have held off on that and gotten Messi instead. But I don't even think Messi I don't know if he would do well in the Premier League. The Premier League's a very fast league and very physical.
And in early August, at this point that we're recording, Man City did offer 2 years, according to reports.
Right. And I think...
so he either turned that down or, it's an untrue report. We don't know what's true and what's not.
Right. And at the time now, I think I just read an article, PSG is being sued from Fair Play for supposedly breaching things with Barcelona unless approaching them. I think the current offer right now is 2 years plus an additional year contract if things go right. We don't know. I hope, out of all things considered, that he does go to PSG out of all the other teams. I just think it'd be very interesting.
Juventus was another one he might go to.
I mean, if he does go to Juventus, it would be interesting to see him and Ronaldo play together on a team. But everyone is saying Ronaldo's going to leave. But hey, I mean, Dybala is there, who's a good friend of Messi's as well, both Argentine. And if having him with Ronaldo in the front line, that's one scary looking team.
Oh, yeah.
And
it doesn't matter that they're getting up in age; they're still very, very good.
Oh, they're very capable. Yeah. I mean,
anyone
will take them.
Several years left of being before we see a true decline, and even their decline. When you're a superstar, your decline is you're still better than some of the average players.
Not only that, but their experiences. We're talking about Champions Leagues, so we're talking about
help your younger teammates or people that maybe aren't used to playing in those big games.
Right, right. And I mean, especially if it goes to Italy, Italy, it's a different league, and
it's getting better.
It's very good, but what I mean is it's not as fast as the Premier League. So even if you're older, I mean, when Ibrahimovic went to back to AC Milan, he looked great. Yeah. And he just came back from playing in the MLS where everyone's like, oh, he's done. He's not playing anymore. He's just signed, I think, another year contract with AC Milan. He's playing very well. Yeah. And he's up there in age too. But I mean, the guy, he's...
It helps you too, because you talk about the leagues not being... obviously, the Premier League is kind of fast in its own league. You also get worn down a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're playing Champions League and Premier League, it might be better for an older player to be Champions League in another league.
Right.
Spain or Italy or France,
right?
Or even Germany,
right? So. No, absolutely. So we'll see what happens with Messi. I personally hope he goes to PSG. I like Posh as a coach, and him having Messi on top of all the other signs they got. They just got horrible with names, but they just got the AC Milan goalkeeper. Who's very good. He had a great Euros as well with Italy, and there you go. Yeah. And they have, Gini Malam from Liverpool on a free. And I don't care what you say. I know some people think he's overrated. Some people think he's not that great, but he plays very well. And I mean, just ask Messi how he feels about when he played against him in Anfield, 4-0 game against Barcelona. He won a Champions League that year. So the guy knows how to win. He knows how to play. So I think he's going to be a great addition in the midfield. And, I mean, it's going to be very exciting being a Paris fan right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I think depending on how Posh sets them up and how the season goes, hopefully no injuries for anyone. And
especially with the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
You see it in baseball now. It's tough when you had to play different.
Right.
Granted, they played through their Premier League season and other seasons, but it was different. You didn't have the fans, and I think their training was different because of the pandemic and protocols and all that.
Right. And now that fans are, I mean, Liverpool played today in a friendly against Athletic Bilbao, and it's crazy seeing the fans all back, seeing them, cheering and everything like that, and you can tell. I mean, Anfield, when it's empty, it's just another stadium. I know, the history of the stadium itself, but a lot of it's the fans.
Yeah.
And people talk about how they don't want to go to Anfield during European games because of how it is. Like, the whole place is shaking. I've been there myself, and
makes you wonder if Everton would have been as bad at Goodison Park if they had fans.
They would have heard a lot of stick. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
they would have got booed when they weren't playing defense.
Oh yeah. And I mean, can you imagine them coming back right now, especially the stands with the new manager that, we can talk about Rafa Benitez and how they, from what I've seen, a majority of Everton fans did not want him there.
Which
obviously,
is funny. I got some notes on that later to talk about because I have some thoughts on that. I know you have a lot of thoughts on it.
Well, the man won us a Champions League. I love the man. And not only that, but he's been staying at Liverpool since he's been appointed there.
He's got it in his blood.
Right. He's been giving back to the Hillsborough charity a lot.
And that's the thing is that one of the things, I think he's actually going to be dedicated to Everton. Now, things happen, and you never know what's going to happen. People offer you contracts. I actually see Benitez as staying to fulfill whatever his plan is.
Unless he gets sacked.
He has a short leash for sure.
No, for sure. I mean, the man has won stuff, and obviously he's coached in China, and people are saying like, oh, well, he coached in China. Like, why is he coaching at Everton? Like, but at the end of the day, he has more experience than who else are you going to get?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think
for not playing in Europe.
Right, for not playing in Europe, for the situation they have, and like not only that, but the way Ancelotti just left the team, and I'm sure the locker room too is
they're in some trouble too. I actually just read an article, not just Ancelotti, but the last couple of managers that they've had, because they've had so many in so short period of time. They are in trouble because they spent a lot of money on certain players that didn't pan out. They didn't make Europe, so the way the rules are, they're actually strapped for cash, which is why they're not making.
Yeah, and the new stadium's being built too.
Yeah, so they're not making those big splashes. Now, granted, it's hard to get transfers anyway when you're not in Europe, but they made the Townsend signing, which is going to be good. We talk about that a little bit later as well, but they're probably not going to make a splashy thing. Like, they have to work. Like, Benitez is going to try to get guys that are going to play in a system. They do have the benefit of only having to play domestic cups in the Premier League, so they're not going to be stretched as much. Right. Sometimes you can steal wins later in the year with teams that have to play backups and things like that. They should be able to get an improvement from 10th to at least 7th or 6th. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that they've struggled so hard.
They were second place. They were in first place for a while. The joke around town is that Liverpool was, not going to make the Champions League, and Everton were. And which I mean,
admit, that would have been insane.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, that's why I love the sport. Like, ever since, like, you see teams like Leicester who won it, even though they have great players and all that other stuff. But like, the thing that's great about the Premier League is that in reality, anyone could beat anyone.
Oh yeah.
We
saw that,
and we've seen it a ton of times.
When Sheffield takes out Everton,
on
the road. That's literally the reason why they're not in Europe. Yeah,
relegation team who clearly was like, all right, you're not going to be in the Premier League next year. Like, they still fought, and they could beat teams with good players and all that other stuff. So.
Actually, that we can talk about this later too. I think that's why, like, when you see my points of why I think Benitez is going to do good, those games are the reason, and we've talked about that in a second, because I think that his system is actually going to work well with what Everton's weaknesses were by strengthening them. But we can talk about that. And actually, we might as well just jump right into the Premier League now. We've been talking about it. I love. I've always been a casual fan this past year, following Everton more, becoming a fan of Everton, and just watching more Premier League. But like, I watched so many different games. Everton actually played a lot of games in the latest window. So all the here, obviously all the games are in the morning and early afternoon because it's night there.
Right.
So it's like, some games are at like 6, 8 a.m., you could watch like the whole slate of games.
Right.
And then it's like 3 o'clock and, you could do your regular day today.
Right. Right.
It's kind of
assuming you're not, well, without COVID, I mean, pre-COVID, I'd be at the pub watching all the games and, I'd be coming home. Kate's like, did you have a good time? I'm like, well, yeah, I watched like 5 back-to-back games, had a couple beers with some friends. And
they're all good.
Oh, yeah.
They all have their moments.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I unfortunately, I look back and watched a lot of Everton's early games because you could, if you have the, all the streaming services, they have games saved so you could go watch them. So I watched a lot of games just to watch them, to really see how Everton played when they were doing really well. Because when I started to watch every single Everton game, I think they won 3 matches in that time. Like they had a rough stretch there at the end that cost them Europe.
Right.
And a lot of reasons why. But, I'm going to start actually with Everton because I think that Everton is a team that should be able to make some ground up this year, and I'm very excited for the season to see what happens. Nothing is guaranteed, and the fact that they're not going to be getting the transfers and the big name transfers, I don't expect them to like win the Premier League, but to get into a top position or even sneak into the top 4, you never know. And sometimes when the system works well, you can make a really big thing. We were talking about Rafa Benitez, and a lot of people obviously were against him, not just because of the rivalry with Everton and Liverpool. And yeah, there was some racist nonsense as well, but I don't even want to bring that in because it's not worth the light of day to even talk about, but because it's just stupid, just ignorant people. But they were mad that Rafa Benitez is always a defense first guy. Like he plays through the backfield and then kind of builds the team that way. And I actually think that when you look at what Everton did last year and the games they struggled, especially at home, all 10 players, besides the goalie, were not buying into the defense. They were not playing away from the ball. It was costing them, like the mid, as soon as, if DCL and Richarlison weren't getting the passes from the midfield, they'd turn it over, and then there was a big breakaway the other way. And then you didn't have everybody trying to stop them. So the team would possess the ball forever, essentially, kicking it around. That's a lot of work. A lot of energy is being spent. And, even guys like Rodriguez, they just weren't every play. They weren't playing every play, it seemed. And it cost them in a big way. And I don't think that happens as Benitez's system. That's probably why Rodriguez doesn't fit in his system, because he's definitely a guy that's been known to not necessarily want to play defense. He wants to just speed up and try to score goals, which is cool. But it just doesn't fit in the system. And I think that Benitez is going to bring that like defensive toughness. And he's going to make them play in a system where they're going to stop turning the ball over as much in the midfield, because they could have the Manchester City game at the end that they lost 5-0. 4 of the goals because they turned it over in midfield. Like if they don't, it's a 1-0 game. You never know what happens at that point. They also had a couple of shots that almost went in that could have changed it. And now I know people want to see more goals. They want to see exciting soccer. They want to see guys speeding up the middle and the left and right wing. Crosses, beautiful goals, all this crazy stuff. But you have to play within your means. Like Everton didn't. They have some guys like DCL, Richarlison, that can make beautiful kicks. They had some midfielders. Alon's really good at pushing the ball forward. But at the same time, it's just you have to play with what you have. And if you play strong, you have a strong backfield and a decent midfield that's able to possess the ball and kind of keep things center, so that when you do get a chance, you're not already down 3-0.
Right.
That's going to be important. I think that helps Everton in a big way. And I think that was the problem with Ancelotti. He's been known to pamper his stars, and pretty much he kept coming in the media saying everybody has to play. The reason why we're losing is because, guys aren't committed to everything. Yeah, well, but you kind of created that atmosphere because you let people kind of take plays off or take this off because they want to do this, do that. everybody's got to work hard. And if they want to make Europe, they're going to have to work hard. And I think Rafa Benitez is a guy that's going to do well. And I think a good example of how Benitez's style can beat someone like Ancelotti, who everybody thought was going to open everything up. Just look to the miracle of Istanbul, because it was Benitez that took out Ancelotti's system.
Right.
And if you notice that second half comeback, what started it? The backfield and the midfield played very well. And they stopped chances, they possessed the ball, and they were able to get chances themselves. And then they obviously scored and tied the game. And then it wasn't to get to the PKs. There were a lot of chances by AC Milan, but the backfield and the midfield held up enough, and it was because of Benitez's system. So, for you, what do you think in that sense? Do you agree with that, or?
So first off, I'm going to say, Steven Gerrard is a big reason of that win too.
Oh,
but it all stems from my biggest take from all this is that if you do not have a team that tracks back, especially when in the Premier League, look at Man City, look at Liverpool. When do they get their goals mostly? When it comes from a mistake from the other team in the counterattack. The counterattack is lethal because everyone just pushes all their cards up. And that's why, especially Liverpool, they didn't have a stable center back. I mean, we talk about, I think in the original podcast, we're talking about the pairings that Liverpool have gone through with no Van Dijk, no Joe Gomez, and even Matip was out too. It was you have no stability together. Allison is a great goalie, but if you have no one in front of you, the goals are going to come in. And, Liverpool still had that mindset of let's go full all in on attack. But as soon as they turn it over, they got to track back too. But when you have your fullbacks of both Andy Robinson and Trent going all the way up, you got two guys and then Jordan Henderson in the back, most likely trying to make sure you got people like De Bruyne and then Sterling and all these other big name, Man City players coming at you. It's kind of hard to stop them. And Everton, no disrespect to your center backs, but you need to have guys that are not only big, but fast too to hold these guys off.
Yes.
We talk about Everton in the beginning when they came back from the pandemic. And the first thing I've noticed was Calvert-Lewin was a man possessed. He was scoring ever since the pandemic was over in the Premier League where the players started coming back and playing. He was on fire. When he came back to the next season, in the beginning, he was also on fire. Calvert-Lewin was just possessed. He looked like a proper striker. He got called up to England and everyone started noticing. And then, the pairing with Charleston there, Allen as well, and Rodriguez were like, oh my God, this is looking like Ancelotti's coming in. Everton was like,
it looked like it was
going to be like, man, Champions League, your Europa League, that was expected.
Yeah.
And, but just like anything, if your players don't all buy in, your players don't track back, especially in the Premier League, you're going to get punished. And that's what happened.
And that's why they lost too, because that's how upsets happen.
Yeah.
Why do the teams that are either close to being relegated or just not, they don't have the personnel to keep up with the top teams?
Right.
Why do they get upsets? Because they play that, they make sure that they're doing all the little things right. They play back when they need to, and they'll push up when they need to.
Look at Newcastle. They were fighting for relegation pretty much the whole season, and they were having some really bad games and some bad droughts, but they kept up. And when you see them play, people were like, okay,
not an easy team to beat.
No, and especially at home too. They were pretty good. And Newcastle, coming forward, I think Newcastle is going to be one of those teams that probably will start making their way, battling Everton for that mid-table, maybe even Europa.
Yeah,
we'll see. I know their ownership might be bought out. There's some people interested in that, so that also money coming in, they're going to be able to sign some players as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Everton
is Benitez's leash, by the way.
Depends on who it is. I think, like we were talking earlier, Rodriguez, the man does not track back. And I don't think Benitez is going to be very shy of sitting him down.
Yeah.
And with all the rumors going around how he wants to go follow Ancelotti back to Real Madrid and everything like that, he's got to be realistic too. He's getting older. Yeah. And the new Galacticos or the new Real Madrid, I don't know if there's going to be a place for him there.
Yeah. Even though Ancelotti did say more.
He says a lot of stuff, but
he tried to steal all of that.
Yeah,
players, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
He tried to take with Charleston. He wanted Alon as well.
But hopefully, Rafa can use this energy as ammo to be like, all right, look, this guy left you. You guys are down in the dumps. We're going to get players. We're going to get maybe people from the youth academy, the under 21s, Premier League 2 and everything like that. We're going to get a team together, believe in something and actually go forward. Because that alone will bump them up from what 10th place finish. Yeah. I mean, to me, the goal is Europa. If you don't make Europa, then I don't know if Benitez is going to stay even longer than a year because he is on a short leash from upper management because already a lot of your fans don't want him there. And I get it. Like,
that'll
that's
change
fine.
if they win.
And that's the thing. If he starts winning or even silverware start coming in, I mean, no one's going to complain.
It's all going to go.
If you complain about trophies, about that, I don't know how anyone's going to take you seriously. I mean, everyone wants to get back to the glory days. Everyone wants to win the Champions League. Everyone wants to win a trophy or even a FA Cup. Like, that's a big deal. That's why
Everton shows all those highlight videos from when they were good.
Right, exactly. You know, it's like the Cubs being like, "Yeah, remember when we were good and we had, we had Sammy Sosa. We got pretty good, right?" It's like, dude, no one. Yeah, that's great, but like, we won trophies. We want to stamp ourselves in history. You know,
right now too.
Right now, I'm gonna be alive to see this. I don't want to talk to my grandkids like, "Oh yeah, I had a really good team that they never made it."
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Everton, with all that hype, with Ancelotti signing, with Rodriguez coming in, and you're seeing all these other big players linked from like Real Madrid being like, oh, they want to go play in England. Oh yeah, they want to play in Liverpool. They want to go play with Everton. And you're like, huh? Like, it's exciting. It's very exciting. And I think with the new stadium coming, with Benitez there, I think this is another opportunity that Everton has to make that next step because they are a big club. No one can deny that. I mean, they have a lot of history. They have won cups or they have won trophies before. And
actually, at one point they were considered one of the Super Five or whatever.
Right, the Big Five, yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about other teams that were up there as well. I mean, you look at Arsenal, how they are right now and how they ended with Arteta coming in and how a lot of the fans want him out now. Other teams have a lot of drama going on with their managers, and especially with COVID and all the other stuff going on. Why not? Why can't Everton make that next step? We've seen crazier things happen in the league. We've seen more upsets in the league. I mean, that's what makes the Premier League so fun. And I think coming next year, Everton, they got to believe they could do it. Rafa has to get through them. And maybe come to the January window, they'll get someone on loan or they'll get a youngster that will make the difference. And I think
Townsend, I think, is a
step. Yeah,
it's a good step.
I mean, I remember Townsend very well from him playing in Crystal Palace and that banger that he scored against Man City. I mean, the guy is solid, and I think he can contribute big time to Everton and the way that they play too. So, and not only that, but it's a good guy to have in the backup too, just in case you're playing cup games or something like that. He's a great guy to come in. So. Yeah. Townsend's the right direction to go.
He also can play off his right or left. So I think
exactly.
He's got versatility.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Everton needs. They need players like that. They need players that can take them to the next step. So Townsend's a great signing. And I think I don't remember the amount that he signed for, but it wasn't really that bad for the cap hit not cap hit, but the amount of money that he's worth. I think he will prove it throughout his time there. So
that's kind of how they have to be now, smart, because like I said before, they can't just make a big signing. They only have so much room based on the rules and the fair and accountability and all that. So it's because they spent a lot of money on players that didn't pan out.
Right. Which, I mean, that's sport. That's how it goes. But, with a good coach and with a little bit of luck, you'll go pretty far. And
that's why I think a system is important because you can't just go sign the best players right now. That's just not feasible. It's not going to happen. All these fans are like, get rid of the whole team and sign these guys. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, no. It's like you guys lived in Liverpool and follow the Premier League since you were 3 and you still think this how it works. Like,
I mean, a lot of people don't. I mean, we new fans don't realize this, but having Trent, he came up from the academy. Andy Robinson was playing for Hull. And I think we bought him for like $8 million, not even. And now he's well worth that money. But like 2 of our star fullbacks, they weren't exactly like, big name profile players. They just kind of, everything worked out through the academy or through a good signing that nobody else thought of. And they just kind of fit the system. Mm-hmm. And that's what Everton has to do. They have to find players that it's like, all right, we're going to give you your shot, whether it be a cup game or, a friendly or something like that. See if they can develop. And
I have been paying attention to their system too. They have some very good young players.
Right.
They just transferred. They transferred to different places. I know one guy went to Italy and somebody else I think went to Belgium recently, and it's good because
they're getting playing time.
They're going to get big time experience. They're going to get some playing time, and there's a lot of talk about some of the skills that they might bring. And those are the guys you need to come fill your team. Like maybe they're not going to be your superstar team, but soccer is a team sport.
Right.
One guy doesn't win you anything. You need everybody to be on the same page and to do their job.
Right.
You know?
The biggest thing we got to both worry about, I mean, is injuries. Today in the preseason, Andy Robinson took a pretty bad hit, and I don't know if it's his ankle or if it's his
things you fear in those friendlies.
Right. And I mean, you do this. We're a week away from the Premier League opening up. You do want your players to play, and you want them to get warmed up, because that's how even worse injuries happen, when they come in cold. Yeah. So I'm not mad that he was playing. It sucks because, you know, with the Van Dijk injury and with the Gomez injury and with all these defensive issues that Liverpool have had, it's like, all right, we got our main guys back. We're going to be great. And we have an injury already. And if Liverpool's going to make it, I mean, that's what makes Man City so dangerous. They get an injury. It's like, okay, you have another star player that come off the bench that can start no problem.
I mean, they won a lot of games with a B team in the Premier League.
Right. Right. I mean, their B team could fill up a Premier League spot by themselves. And like, yes, they have the money. Yes, they have all that stuff. But at the end of the day,
6 losses, I think, in the Premier League. It's just insane. 27 wins. Like, that's
no, it is. It is. But remember, that same team couldn't beat the Champions League. Yeah. You know, it's
they almost struggled against PSG before they kind of broke through.
Right. And that's why we love this sport, because you can buy as many players as you want. At the end of the day, you know, it really depends on the other team that you're playing, their system, and how you prepare for the game. Yeah. I mean, you know, staying up late at night shooting fireworks outside of the stadium or outside of where the players are sleeping, I guess, is a tactic too. But, you know, I'm sure plenty of players are used to that. Also, a bunch of crazy fans playing in the Champions League like that. But yeah, Everton, I mean, for me as an opposing fan, they don't get too good, but it's exciting. And that's why I want them to get good, because then it just makes the rivalry that much sweeter. Merseyside Derby gets that
fun, competitive.
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I live for. Yeah. So, you know, I hope it happens, and I hope they find the players that fit the system. I hope Rafa, as a Liverpool fan, really does a good mark in Everton. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want is him to fail, and then everyone just like really berates him and like it's all that other stuff, because, you know, I love the man. I don't want him to.
Yeah, they'd run him out of Liverpool or something.
Yeah, I mean, I know his family lives there, and the last thing he needs is just a constant reminder that half the city hates him. Yeah. So, you know, let's try to avoid that. But
which is crazy to think. But
yeah, but you know,
it does happen.
That's what happens when you love the sport a little too much. So.
Yeah, I mean, passion is a good thing, but it's got to be.
It's got to be checked a little bit too.
It's got to be realistic. You can have all the passion. You can be upset. You know, I could joke with you if Everton wins. You could joke with me if Liverpool wins in the Merseyside Derby, if that ever happened, or if they ever met in the FA Cup. You know, that would be insane.
Right.
But we wouldn't. You know, it wouldn't be like, you know, hateful, I guess, is the a lot of those things become hateful.
No,
it shouldn't. It should just be fun. Like, at the end, you should drink a beer with your buddies and be like, "Yeah, your team kicked our ass."
Yeah, I mean, you know, the one negative thing that happened in both the city itself, the Hillsborough disaster, a lot of people don't realize it's like pretty much like the Cubs and the Sox. You have family members that are fans of the opposing team too. So while you may hate the other team, it goes deeper than that. It's like pretty much deep-seated in the community. Yeah. And during those things, teams come together and they forget the rivalry, and they realize that at the end of the day, it's a tragedy that happened to people that all lived in that community. And I think most of the time, when the fans come against each other, you'll see brothers and sisters, like, you know, going against each other on that in the stadium. But like after that, at the end, they're still family. Yeah. They'd be rooting for the wrong team, but they're still family.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to note is that, you know, the Everton-Liverpool rivalry is probably not as intense in terms of like, you know, people getting hurt because they're hateful than maybe some other rivalries.
Right. This isn't like Liverpool Man United, where, you know, it gets even a little heated on that, or even like Celtic Rangers, the old firm and everything like that, where it's coming to like religion and politics and everything like that too. So, you know, it's more of a neighborhood rivalry, I would like to think. But
yeah, and it's pretty cool. So, I mean, I do want to go to let you talk about Liverpool too. How excited are you for their season coming up? I mean, last year they obviously had the Allison goal that heard around the world. You know?
Right. Yeah, I'm still buzzing about that. It's pretty awesome. I mean, again, it all comes down to injuries. Naby Keita is finally back, and he looks great in the preseason. And that's the thing. Like, when he's healthy, he looks great. And a lot of people have been talking about, like, all right, are we going to sell him? Are we going to do something about it? I mean, from what I understand, Naby Keita is going to be along for the long haul. And when he plays well, like he did today, he just looks awesome. And Mane looked great as well. Robinson, before he got injured, looked great. Trent was looking solid. Allison, solid as well.
Yeah. He's definitely one of the best goalies.
Oh, absolutely. And I know he just signed an extension, say with Fabinho, which is like one of our core players as well. Yeah. Great guy. I love him. He can play center back. He can play central defensive. He can play everything pretty much. He's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's why I have high expectations. I expect them to go pretty far in the Champions League, same with the Premier League. Winning it, I mean, Man City looks like a threat. A lot of the other teams. Look like a threat. Right. Recently, Man United made some signs. Sancho's not playing for them and everything like that. Yeah. While I hope Man United doesn't do better than Liverpool, I just know going to Old Trafford is going to be a whole different ordeal now.
They will want to, and then you have Chelsea still going to be good. Obviously.
Oh, yeah. Lukaku just came back for Chelsea. They just got back from I think I saw a thing where when an English team wins the Champions League the following season, they win the Premier League. Man United did that when they won their last Champions League. Liverpool did that when they won their Champions League. They won the following season. Now Chelsea just won the Champions League. So if all the stars are aligned, they're going to win the Premier League too. I would like to think that if Liverpool doesn't win it, then I hope someone else besides Man City wins it, or Man United. I would be happy if I would be content if Chelsea won it. I just my thing is top four has to be definitely more than enough for the goal. If they don't make top four, then I know people are going to be very upset.
Yeah. What if they don't make top four within the Champions League? Which can happen.
I mean, it's happened. Yeah,
play well,
right,
throughout your team.
Right,
injuries happen. You got to show that you have that.
Right. If they don't make it, I mean, Europa's not the worst thing in the world, but because, again, the Premier League is very competitive.
Although I think you automatically get in the Champions League if you win the title.
Oh, no. Yeah, you do. Yeah, because first place and all that. But it's, I mean, I won't be happy. I expect nothing but top four or Champions League with the squad that we have. Yeah. We're not losing players yet. A lot of people are upset that we're not re-signing like Hendo. As of right now, he's not given a contract. Things like Mo Salah hasn't re-signed a contract as far as I know. Mane hasn't re-signed anything. The FSG, the way that they're talking about is they don't really want to re-sign anyone over the age of 30, from what I understand. And
they're trying to stay young, I guess.
Yeah, and you worry about it because it
sounds like their style of play too.
And especially their counterattack. It's fast, and on the legs, it's gonna do wear and tear. Yeah. Robertson.
So when you're over 30, it's a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, with Robinson, remember he played all of last season. He played for the Euros for Scotland, and he's playing right now for Liverpool. Those legs, they do a lot of running, and it's not really that surprising that he got injured. I just hope now he has the time to rest and time. Hopefully, it's not a bad injury as well. We'll see. I mean, we'll go from there, but I expect the top four finish, if not a deep Champions League run. Liverpool's so strong in the Champions League, so I feel like they would go pretty far this year, assuming injuries are not the problem. But remember, other teams have also Chelsea, just the amount of signings they make and the amount of money they throw out, it's not stupid signings, I feel. I know a lot of people aren't very happy with some of their signings, what they made with Kai Havertz. I know he definitely shot up, especially at the end, with his worth and the amount of money that he played. And I think he played very well in the Champions League as well. But it's going beyond me right now. I'm forgetting the name of the other German striker that they just bought that really wasn't. I don't know if you can help me out with this, but he was not having a good season at all. And he was supposed to bang in all the goals. So, but obviously they got Lukaku now, who is he had a great year at Inter Milan, played very well in the Champions League and in the Europa League. And I expect he's going to probably play well with the new coach there. And I think they're going to do great. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be very exciting. And
it's going to be a tough season too, because we talked about those teams at the top. There's also the question mark of Leicester City. Can they finish? They've been in the top four twice and blew it in the last couple of games, 2 years in a row.
Right. They also won the Community Shield recently against Man City,
which is huge.
Yeah, which is it's a trophy. I mean,
they're all about that. They obviously won the FA Cup.
And they won the FA Cup too. That's 2 trophies. I mean, that's better to say than most teams also too.
They're regardless of what happens in terms of getting into the Champions League, they're obviously a team that's going to win a lot.
Right. And They're definitely not pushovers. They got a solid squad, and Brandon Rodgers is a great coach. I mean, he almost won it with Liverpool. So the guy knows how to play a good team, and I think he's a great coach. Yeah. So Leicester City is going to be very exciting to see. Yeah. I like the way they play. I like a lot of the players. I think Ian Nacho at the end of the season had a good resurgence of how he was playing, with Jamie Vardy kind of being in and out of the squad and everything like that. So we'll see.
And then you got Tottenham, the Kane drama. We could kind of touch on that.
Oh, yeah, Tottenham. I mean, not even the Kane drama, the coaching drama, the everything, like sacking Jose Mourinho, right before a cup final. And, I mean, the whole reason they brought him in is to win silverware. And you take the man, you fire the man before he even has a chance to win it. I mean, I don't know what was going on. We don't have that Amazon documentary for that part of the season, but why would you fire a guy who's known to win trophies right before the biggest trophy that you could have won in that season? Yeah. And you bring in an interim coach. And I mean, to me, I would have fired him after the game. If he didn't win it, then fire him. If he won it, then fire him. I don't care. But like, as a fan, and I have a lot of Tottenham friends that are fans, they were frustrated, and regrettably so. I mean, I was pissed. It doesn't make
sense either, because you look, they built that very nice stadium. They have that new stadium.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
One of the only stadiums with a microbrewery, and I actually talked about that on in the 4th episode of Brewing the Facts. But it's just, you look at the things they're setting up. It's supposed to be this experience for fans. They have the stadium. You think they want stability on their team so that they could do well,
I mean, you talk about stability. I know Son signed a new contract, and that's exciting for fans. But I mean, not like you said earlier, we have the Harry Kane drama, the gentleman's agreement drama.
He doesn't want to play. He says that the reports are that he actually went on Twitter and talked about that he wasn't holding out on training or things like that. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes those fans aren't going to know.
Of course. I mean, and who knows what his agent's saying and everything like that too. I like Harry Kane. I think he's a good player. He would not fit in like my team's system for sure. Yeah. But I mean, the man knows how to score goals. He had a great year at the Euros as well.
I mean, City probably would be one of the places he'd want to go. Or if he wanted to, I don't know if he'd leave the Premier League.
That's what I'm pretty sure with the I'm so bad with names right now, but I'm pretty sure the main dude over at Spurs right now, they want him to leave the Premier League, because why would you sell him to a Man United or a Man City? That's just going to indirectly hurt you. But I mean, Harry Kane, I'm pretty sure he wants to beat Alan Shearer's Premier League record of most goals scored in the Premier League, and he'd only do that by staying in the Premier League.
I feel like he's like English, through and through.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
I mean, you saw he's scored the PK in the Euro final. It didn't even break a sweat.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's leaving England. I think if I was a betting man, I'd say he'd probably go to Manchester City. I mean, the way everything's looking.
That's what I would say too.
Right, the way everything is looking. Kun Aguero's gone now. And they're going to need someone at a striker position, an overall striker position, just to score the goals. And he could do it. He's got the height.
Tottenham refused, though, because they seem to not want to settle.
Maybe for 150 million they won't, but it's that magic number. And Daniel Levy, he's gonna push for that number, and he's in control right now. But the thing is, do you sit the guy? And
that's the big thing.
I don't think they will, because again, he wants to get that record. If he doesn't get a trophy, he wants to beat the record of having the most goals in the Premier League, which I get.
He's in Europa too at Tottenham, but I could feel he wants to be on the Champions.
Oh, of course, no, he just wants to win a trophy, and I don't blame him. I mean, a lot of fans I've talked to from Tottenham are like, look, they're hurting right now, obviously, because he wants to leave. But at the same time, they're like, we did try. Like, he did give us a lot of his years of his prime to win it, and they just never got there. They got to the Champions League final, didn't make it. They've gone to other finals like the FA Cup, didn't make it. And I mean, you look at Robin van Persie for Arsenal. He left not in the best of ways from Arsenal to Man United, and then won the Premier League after that. And the Arsenal faithful will tell you how much they hate him for that. And, Man United also did the same thing for a lot of other players that have left lesser teams to win trophies. And this is just the way the business is. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to lift the trophy, you want to win the league, you want to win other cups. So
I think Man City goes all out for Kane if
Well, they have to.
strike out on Messi.
Yeah, I don't think Messi's going to come to the Premier League. I mean, just personally, like playing with Neymar and a lot of the other players that are in PSG, I think it better suit him and his family to go there. So I think he's going to be a Paris player, and I think that Harry Kane's probably going to go play for Man City. And does that mean they're automatically going to win the league? I don't think so, but they got a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
And
they're definitely not going to get relegated.
No.
I don't think they're mid-tier regardless.
Unless some freak accident happens where there's a bunch of injuries, I don't see them finishing out of top 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're definitely the team to beat to defend their Premier League title.
Right, but pretty much everyone in the top 4 got better. Liverpool got better. Chelsea got better. Man United got better. Man City got better. Arsenal, and Tottenham, like I am excited for Santos to take over Tottenham, though. I think he did a great job at Wolves. The whole head injury with Jimenez helped, you lose your star striker, you're not going to get all the goals and anything like that. So, I know Wolves struggled after that injury for Jimenez, but I think he's going to do good at Tottenham, and I hope he does because, I think Tottenham fans deserve, after having a great stadium and great players, they deserve some glory in that too. So we'll see.
And one of the things that I'm actually very excited for this season is we've talked about before, the fans. If we can keep away these Delta variants, if people get vaccinated and all that, we could not get shut down again, which is a fear. But
of course,
it's just when the stadiums are full, you have a better atmosphere.
God, yeah.
And the players feed off that. They could say we try to ignore all that stuff. We could try to block it out, but no, they're feeding off of it. And I think it changes the game a lot. 1-0, 2-1 games become way more intense. Even if it's 2-0 or 3-0, and the other team scores, you could just feel this thing going on, and the momentum kind of swings in a big way. We've talked about a lot how 2-0, 3-0 leads are some of the scariest to have in soccer. So it's just. It's kind of, I'm excited to see that. I mean, we've seen it domestically with NBA and, MLB and even NHL and all that stuff. So, there's just this new wrinkle that fans throw into everything. Mm-hmm. And it almost felt like this season was maybe wasn't complete or whole during the pandemic. But with, as the time went on and they let more fans in. We got some fans for the Champions League final. And then of course the Euros, we got fans for the final there. For the semis and final. But just to see, I mean, I'm obviously a huge Italy national team fan. So we could start talking about that because that final was so awesome to see. It was a hard-fought game. England played fantastic, great opponent. But Italy won. They got to go celebrate with the trophy with their fans over there. And you could just see that the players were so excited to be with their fans. And obviously they want to win it themselves. They were happy for themselves. They get to have the trophy, but they also were happy to share it with their communities.
Yeah.
And I think that wrinkle of having fans is what it makes it so much better. It's great to watch the games. It's great to see all the things happen, but to have those fans in the stands cheering for the team or even booing when the team does bad, it just changes everything.
Right.
And I think it'll make this season super exciting to watch.
I agree. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to 2 games during the Milwaukee Bucks' NBA championship run, including a finals game, yes,
which is pretty awesome.
Which is very awesome. It's off of my bucket list of going to a finals game for the NBA. I mean, luckily the Bulls look very good this year, so hopefully we can get up there too.
We're excited to Chicago.
Yes, we are.
And but the Blackhawks made some trades too. So
we'll see. I mean, it's exciting right now. It's like I was talking to my friend. It's almost like the '90s. The Sox are looking good. The Cubs are on the decline, and the Bulls, with the trades that they made, it looks like not like the '94 Bulls, but they're looking like a team that actually might make a playoff run.
Yeah,
and
which is what you want.
Exactly.
I mean, you should make the playoffs in the East.
Right. And LeBron's not there anymore, but at the end of the day, when I was at those games, I mean, I went to a Bucks game earlier in the season since Wisconsin was one of those states that weren't very heavy on the mandates of people coming in to see NBA games. Yeah. Chicago didn't even open up until like the last 2 games of the season. And by then it was already over. And I mean, nobody was trying and everyone was playing really loose defense. You don't want to go see that. I mean, I'd rather stay at home, save my money and not even pay for that. But, going to Milwaukee, they had something to fight for. They were going for a championship, and seeing fans there, seeing people get excited, seeing, from the first game where I went, where it was like, I think 20,000 fans, to the finals game where it was loud and the whole place was shaking. My dad always, longtime Bulls fan, would always tell me about how the old Chicago stadium was so loud that you could like go deaf in there, and the whole place was just like rumbling, where you could hear almost cracks coming out from the roof and all that.
The old decibel, like if you watch the finals games, the announcers would always be, "Here's the decibel level,"
right?
And
right.
It was like through the roof,
right? And I love that. I mean, as a fan, I feed off of that too, and you could totally tell the players. I mean, seeing Giannis play in person and seeing him feed off of everyone getting so excited. Not only that, but then you hear about the whole, counting down from his free throws and all that other stuff too. Phoenix fans, I'll give them that. They travel very well. When I was at Game 5 in Milwaukee, it was, Game 4 in Milwaukee, it was insane how many Phoenix fans were there. And man, I mean, they were in home court, and you could hear people 1, 2, 3. And I'm just like, man, these guys are crazy. But, when you're in lockdown, you don't see your team play, and the Phoenix haven't been in the finals since Charles Barkley was relevant. Yeah. And,
and never won.
So. Yeah, exactly. So, that was their chance. And
they were up 2-0 in the beginning, too.
Right.
They really thought that they were going to take it.
And, this is why we love sports. You see, after seeing Giannis's freak injury in the beginning of the last series against Atlanta, you're like, oh my God, is this it? Is Milwaukee going to finally be out? Are they going to make it past Atlanta? And then they did. Then he came back against Phoenix, and you're like, okay, is he going to play 100%? And
then he drops 50 in the last game 6.
Yeah.
I mean, just beast, legendary.
No, I mean, I know we're going off, Premier League, but seeing sports at that level and seeing fans at that level, I mean, it just after what Corona has done, as we've all seen in America and all around the world, seeing that kind of joy and seeing that kind of togetherness of the city and everything like that, it really, you realize what you missed as a sports fan. Yeah. And I mean, I saw the preseason today of people going back to Anfield, going back, walking to the stadium and everyone getting together and everyone going to their seats and all that. I mean, I miss it.
Yeah, it's a way of life over there. So I'm guessing it was very, very different.
Oh yeah. No. And I mean, I can't wait to go back to Anfield. I hope that things hold up and that I can go back to the second part of the season so I can go watch a game at Anfield. And I have friends that live in London, and I know they started supporting Arsenal. Hopefully we can go to the Emirates and watch them play too, because they want to see what it's all about. I mean, they were in England during the Euros when England made it all the way to the finals, and they're like, man, people are going crazy over here. People are outside yelling and people are honking horns and all that. And as Americans, they're like, yeah, no one, America didn't even make the World Cup, but no one really cares over here to that level where the country almost shuts down. So, they were really into the experience. They're like, wow, it's nice seeing that kind of passion where people go absolutely nuts over it. So, I hope Arsenal plays a little well. So when I take them to a game, it's not a snooze fest and they actually get to see some awesomeness. So we'll see.
Speaking of that Euro final, by the way, how about those Italians? I have to go through everything that I had to go through. First of all, Donnarumma definitely cemented himself as one of the legends of Italy. He played out of his mind. But then when you look, you had Chiellini and Bonucci, who are veterans that also played. You would not think that they're 36, 34. Mm-hmm. Jorginho, Verratti, Insigne, Chiesa. Immobile, Locatelli even coming off the bench doing good. Spinazzola before he got injured was huge for them. It was so awesome to see, following them from the late 90s. Yes, they won some World Cups. Never saw them win a Euro championship ever. And it was different too, because I watched the first game with Turkey. They won 3-0, looked really good. And they're already, the announcers are like, Italy's one of the favorites now. I'm just like totally reserved at this point. Like, I don't know. There's some tough games. Things can happen. You never know. Like, obviously, injuries can happen.
Obviously, yeah.
And they had to go through an insane gauntlet when you talk about the knockout round. They had to go through Belgium, number 1 team. They had to go through England, was number 3 team, right?
Yeah.
And Spain is no pushover, and their system gives Italy trouble, especially without Spinazzola, because he stretched really well on the left and right. It just wasn't working. It was hard for them to get chances. And then they had the other tough game, right in the beginning of the knockout round. That was just like, oh my God, are they going to blow it already?
I mean, they were in a group of death, and
they got through it. They also had to take on. People forget how far Switzerland made it.
Oh yeah,
they were in Italy's group.
The Swiss played great. I mean, I love Shaqiri too, and he played some very good minutes in that team as well. Yeah. So, especially these national teams, you have to realize a lot of egos actually go out of the window and they play together. And that's when you have teams like the Swiss or the Czechs and all that, or the Croatians and all that, who have some very good players, but overall they play very well together, and they believe in a system where they're like, oh my God, they could beat one of the juggernauts like Portugal, how they went down early, and Spain, and
how France got upset.
Yeah, the World Cup champions. Like, and, look at their squad. Everyone there is playing at the top level,
which might have been the best game of the whole tournament.
Right. Well, no, it was. I think it was.
That was insane.
It was insane, and I mean, that's again why we love this sport, because you see insanity like that happen in some of the matches. You're like, I can't believe this happened, because all things considered, and you see the people on the books and all that stuff, you're like, they shouldn't have lost. Yeah. And then you look at the breakdown, you're like, well, they had that little oomph that you need to get over the mountain, and they took it. So
France going down with Mbappe.
Yeah.
What? Like, you're just like, oh man.
I know people hate MPKs, but everyone was on the edge of their seat, like, who's going to miss it? Who's going to miss it?
So many MPKs too.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, Italy had a win too, just in the semis and finals.
I mean, I'm glad you're still alive. I'm surprised you didn't have a heart attack. We were texting, and I'm like, man, this guy, like, he just started watching the sport, and he's like already having a heart attack. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine if I started watching and that was my team going, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, this is what
I have watched Italy forever too, though. So I mean, I was more invested in the national team Italy than I was in like Premier League or anything.
Yeah, which is exactly what I mean. Is I'm surprised you didn't have a heart attack, because when you care that much about a team, especially like now that you'll be going with Everton further in, these games mean a little more to you than and getting a game that intense and that close, where you're just like, all it takes is one mistake, and then to go past it, you're flying. And that's why it was exciting for me to see you watching your team just go over hurdle. And I'm like, okay, I'm not Italian, but kind of hope they win, because like you're getting all the highs and like even the lows at points where like, oh my God, we're gonna lose, like we're gonna get out of the tournament. Yeah. And that's what the sport's all about, and I love it. Yeah. So, and I don't know about you, but I mean, it makes you want to watch more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, it gets you excited for the.
It was one of those things too. When it was over, it was like, we won. This is amazing. But then I was like, I'm gonna miss watching them play.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why it's like, it's kind of like, all right, hurry up in the summer. Let's get some trades and let's go. Let's get the Premier League back. Let's get the Serie A back, Liga Uno back. And it's just like, I kind of don't care what happens. Like, I just want to get back to the sport and see some more craziness happen.
Absolutely. It is a short off season, which is nice.
It's good for us as fans.
It's not good for them.
It's not good for the players. I'm sure they would have liked a longer holiday to relax, be with their family and everything like that. But
the good news is that in the beginning of the season, it kind of goes, it starts a little slow.
Right. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, the Champions League final is entertaining. The Euro final is the knockouts too. Were so exciting, and it's a good time to be a fan right now to enjoy the sport, because you get to see all this awesomeness.
Yeah, and then there was you talk about the Euros as well. Like, one of the things when I was, I think I have a lot of friends and where I grew up that also followed Italy, and just seeing their social media responses and stuff. I don't normally see things about soccer all the time, and just the fact that I guarantee you many of the people don't actually pay attention, but they were paying attention to Italy in the Euros. Because again, 1968 was the last time they won the Euros, and that's when the tournament was like 6 teams, 4 teams, like even like I don't.
Yeah.
they actually did legs to make it to the semifinals.
And like I said, they went through like the group of hell pretty much. So like,
Turkey, Switzerland, all those teams are good. And then every team they played, you saw how it was. Like the Austrians,
great games.
Slouch,
Great games. I mean, I think any neutral fan, besides like if your team lost, obviously, for the most part, was having the time of their life watching some high level play. I mean, obviously Mexico's not in the Euros, but I just had a time of my life watching these games play, and I was like, working at the time during some of the games at 2:00 in the afternoon. But I'm like, I'll take a late lunch and see what's going on. Going to extra time, going to penalties, and people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, great! Here I'm watching the Euros and all that stuff." I'm like, I know a lot of people don't get it in this country, but like every once in a while, like you said, you'll have people who are like, "Oh, like I'm Italian, like I should watch this." Like I'm like, "Yeah, you should." Like, this is some really good stuff. Like, I would always make the joke that people don't care about soccer in this country because of how the MLS is, which is like not right anymore, because the way Atlanta United are, the way that even here in Minnesota, I mean, you see a beautiful stadium. I know it's like very based off of the Allianz Arena over in Munich, and you can see it off of the highway. It looks great, and how the Seattle Sounders are too, and Vancouver Whitecaps. Like there's some fouling happening, and there's some players coming in that it's like, okay, like the MLS is starting to take off. And at back in the '90s or even early 2000s, the MLS. The biggest thing that happened was like when players from other leagues retired, and they're like, "Oh, let me just get one more paycheck at the MLS and then go from there." And I know some people are not going to like that I say that, but people weren't like, "I'm going to go play for the Chicago Fire," even though I would love it. But like, people wanted to go play in Europe, people wanted to go play in England, and want to go play in Italy, play in Spain, because that's where people
It'd be
the
cool
best.
if the MLS became decent enough to where because some of the MLS teams. If you win, you get to play in the, was it the CONCACAF or whatever?
Right.
So,
right. And, South America, you got to play all those other teams there, and they have very good teams. And I hope the MLS still get to that point where people are like, okay, like you can come to America not when you're old and retired and all that stuff, and they go there and play in a good league. And then,
the Club World Cup as well. If you win the CONCACAF.
Right. And who doesn't want a nice shiny gold badge on their jersey, right? So it's exciting, I think, right now. It's so nice that we are able to stream games from England or whatever at our leisure, rather than having to find some crazy TV program package back in the day, because there's no way to stream it any other way. So
it's nice that Paramount and Peacock you could watch a lot of these games.
Yeah,
pretty much. I think all the Premier League games are
right. And I think
Peacock if you want, and then you also have Fubo TV and all that.
Right,
stuff, so.
And I think ESPN Plus has an exclusive partnership with Serie A, so you can pretty much watch all those games too. So it's not a bad time to get into the sport. So if you want to watch the top level, because we're very spoiled here in America. We have as far as I know in numbers, the best American Football League in the world. Hockey, best in the world. A lot of players coming from Russia or from Europe, and they want to come play here. Why? Because it's the best. Yeah. Basketball being the big one. I know basketball's being very big throughout the world now. We're in Spain and Turkey, Argentina, Brazil.
But you could see it with what happened in the Olympics. The Olympic U.S. team was not anywhere close to as good as any past teams. And yet they still won gold.
Right.
It's just the way it goes.
Right. I mean,
the other teams are great. They're getting better, but they're just not too hard.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been upsets, and Team USA is not like the dream team. They're not that invincible. Like other countries are catching up, and I mean, Australia has a good team too. So as the league gets bigger and as more people get exposed to it, I feel like. You remember when Yao Ming got into the league, and China started paying attention to that too. Yeah. So when you have a country that has someone from your country going in and playing at the best level, people tune in and people get inspired. Next, little kids are going to start playing basketball there.
That's why everyone comes to the NHL, right?
Exactly.
Of course, hockey is probably domestically better in some countries that are always cold.
Right.
But the North American NHL,
right. That's where people come. I mean, that's where they want to play. I mean, you see people from Scandinavia, you see people from Russia, you see people all over the world. They're like, oh, well, if I want to be the best, I got to go to the NHL.
MLB too. Look at Otani.
Oh, yeah.
Why did he come to the MLB to show off his skills?
Right.
Because he wanted to play against the best.
And get paid the best.
Those other leagues are fantastic.
Right.
The Japanese league, the Korean leagues, they're fantastic. And you see it in the Olympics. Japan won, but remember, the U.S. doesn't get to play American MLB stuff.
Right.
If
Just
it
like
did, it'd be gold every year.
I mean, we go back to like the Dream Team, how before professional NBA players weren't allowed to play in the Olympics too. It was just college kids. And even then, like it was getting to the point where like Americans were pretty much dominating too. And so they were like, you know what, let's get our professionals in there too. And we all know what happened right there. But
that 92 team, man.
right. It's exciting right now to the sports, just like how everyone can see it and everyone can appreciate the top level of it being played. And it makes me excited that other players and other teams can see this too, because then they'll get inspired. I mean, we talk about, Americans and how they fare in Europe and how they play. I mean, I know Christian Pulisic, like the way he played, and he's, I think, the only American that has a Champions League.
He does.
And,
he's the first.
That's huge. As a fan of not of Chelsea, but it's like, someone from this country, maybe it'll be enough to get some more people inspired from seeing that, be like, hey, I'm American. Like, maybe soccer's not our first thing over here, but it might be to the point where it's like, well, this guy clearly won it. It was widely broadcasted. I think it was on NBC or no, it was AB or CBS who did. So you didn't need cable. It was all over the
plus the CBS.
Exactly. So like, yes, they're getting paid billions of dollars to broadcast and all that stuff. But as far as the sports integrity and the sport itself, it's getting to people who normally wouldn't see it. And besides, like, I think only here in the 90s, people really only cared about the World Cup.
Yeah,
because that's what we really could see for free on TV.
Yeah, and that's why I started following the Italian national team in the late 90s, because that's what I had.
Right.
And the thing is it was like, so I remember seeing a commercial talking about the U.S. team. I saw one game and it was like, this team is garbage. And then I'm like, I'm Italian, I'm going to follow the Italian team.
Right.
And the Italian team wasn't like some like unstoppable juggernaut at the time. So it made sense for them to follow them. It's kind of why I chose Everton in the Premier League. To be honest, them not winning last year actually helps me as a fan, because I was disappointed when they got rocked by Man City. I was very disappointed. It like ruined my week.
Hey, welcome to being a fan. Nobody wants to be like, yeah, I'm going to be a fan of the Yankees. It's like, what fun is that? Like,
although there are some people that do that.
Well, of course there are. I mean,
it's like all the bandwagoners,
Yeah, I mean,
I look at that with, the following that you see from some teams. Like the Cubs are another big national giant. Suddenly everybody was following the Cubs, and it's like, you don't even like baseball.
Right. I mean, we see it in our city in Chicago. Like, I've seen White Sox fans like switch sides, and now that the Sox are very good, they're like, oh yeah, I love the White Sox. I'm like, weren't you wearing a Cubs hat like last year?
I saw a lot of tweets when they traded everyone from the Cubs, and it was just like, I'm going to become a White Sox fan now. And it's like, then you're not a real fan. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, I lived through the bad times of the White Sox to enjoy this moment. You can't just keep jumping sides to the team that's good.
I mean, even if you do, like, you're going to miss the genuine connections you do make. Because I remember growing up.
Be that exciting?
No, it's all fake, in my opinion. Like, I grew up with a lot of friends that were Cubs fans. And I remember giving them hell, especially when the Sox won their first World Series in 2005. That game against Houston and everything like that is just like so sweet. I'm just like,
the Cubs obviously blew their chance a couple of years ago.
Right. So like, I remember just gloating to all my Cubs fans, and like, they took it not well, obviously, but they took it. So like when the Cubs
gave it back, when the Cubs
exactly, and when they came back and they gave it, like there was a good handful of friends that I knew who were genuine Cubs fans, and they were crying, going crazy, partying in Wrigleyville, and I'm like, I'll clap them off, like, because they deserve it. Because they've lived through all that scrutiny that I gave them. God forbid, like St. Louis fans, because St. Louis is not that far from Chicago. Yeah. There are a pretty good, significant amount of St. Louis fans in Chicago too. So I can only imagine the stick that they got from them as well. That's the big rivalry. Right. So, for them, the real Cubs fans, I'm like, this is your time. Like, go celebrate, go have fun, like, enjoy the high right now of like
just
your team just
and fight in the streets.
Well, yeah, no. Obviously, yeah, within reason. Yeah. But like, enjoy your team, because it wasn't that long. The Blackhawks were the best team in the NHL. 3 Stanley Cups in 5 years. Like,
probably should have won 4th.
Right, and like I didn't realize how lucky I was living so close to the United Center. I was going to games like crazy.
Right when it ended. Right, because they weren't supposed to be good that year, and then they were the best team in the regular season,
Right.
and then swept by Nashville.
Right.
It was so
right. And I mean, that was also like right before that was when Kane and Panarin were going together, scoring so many goals and assists. It's just like seeing poetry in motion, seeing the way that they play. And that's why I like hockey. I feel so similar to soccer because of like the way that the build up comes up and everything like that. It's very relatable. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm surprised more people don't, between the two sports, like really get together. I just feel like
I tell people all the time about hockey. It's so much fun.
It is
another thing that's similar, especially during hockey playoffs. They go commercial free for most of it.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
Obviously, soccer you get the whole half of it up.
Right. It's very.
They make their ad money by having advertisements
on the ice and all that. Yeah. I mean, it's not like how I've talked to you about how some of the jerseys are, how gaudy they are in Mexico, and like how some of the hockey jerseys are in like Sweden, like where it's literally like you don't even know what team it is. It's just logos everywhere, which is whatever. I don't care. Like I care more about what's on the ice, what they're playing. Yeah. And I mean,
we were blessed too because they changed the rules for hockey pretty much right before the Blackhawks started to do their stock. So they took away the 2-line pass. So that made a lot of breakaways and a lot of speed was important. And they had Kane and Taves. And they had defensemen like Keith and Seabrook who could move the puck really quick. It was so much fun to see. And then, like you said, in soccer, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. The counterattack is just deadly. I mean, it really is amazing when you get a successful counterattack because you just see the whole play build, everyone running in towards the goal. And like at the end of the day, you really can't do much. And that's why when you do see goalies stand on top of their head or, when Pickford does play very well, you're just like, oh my God, like, this is stuff you're seeing that doesn't happen often. Yeah. And that's when you really cherish the moments. So, I hope, as far as competitiveness that Everton get up to there, I hope the Sox make a very good run this year. And
I know at this time of recording, they did go through a little bit of a slump where it was really frustrating watching the offense some days, but I'd rather have it now because
I don't want it to happen during the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And they are going to get better. I mean, you see the potential is there. Sometimes
they got the new signings too.
Also, there are fans that get nuts about things. It's like, do you not realize that the greatest baseball player of all time in terms of average still only hit the ball 40% of the time, like in his career? And as far as I know, there's only a handful of guys that ended their careers with 400. Not including the Negro leagues, obviously, where those guys were very, very good. But it's not like. If they played in the MLB the whole time, they would have been some of the best players, but they probably wouldn't have been batting 800 or something. Like it's just too hard. It's a hard game.
Yeah, no, it's impossible, especially with how pitchers are nowadays. Like, I mean, our bullpen is pretty dang good, especially now after some trades. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the overall take from this is that we, appreciate what we're seeing, whether it be the Euros, whether it be the Champions League final, because getting it taken away from us and not even being able to go to the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to regret that anymore in my life. I'm just going to go as many games as I can, scream as loud as I can, and go enjoy the games. Because, man, it is, watching it on TV is one thing, but seeing it in person, it really is. I appreciate it so much now. And
I can't imagine how crazy it was at the Euros for those fans there on both sides. I mean, it's a lot of highs and lows, man. England definitely had a shot to win it.
Yeah.
And though you can see by those fans, they thought that they were going to win it,
I mean, and that's what we were saying earlier. Like when you said, like, you picked Everton, like, you need to experience both the highs and the lows. So what fun is being a fan? You just win everything. Like, that's like basically being like, hey, I'm in a group project. I didn't know work. I got an A anyway. It's like, does it really feel that earned? No, not really.
Yeah. And I didn't, Everton had a great start to the season. I didn't really follow them until they were like back outside, trying to get back in. They still had a shot for Champions League when I watched them, but they weren't there. And then they lost some games. The rest is history,
Yeah.
But it obviously makes my expectation is Europa. At the very least, everything else is golden, But it's just they got, in my opinion, I want to see them make Europa. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see some good games. I'd like to see an FA Cup run as well. Maybe Carabao Cup. But,
why not? They have it's like you said, they don't have to worry about. Sadly, they have to worry about Europe right now, but that means they can focus on other silverware, and silverware means money, which means players, which means, especially with COVID, like it's tough for everyone not having all the fans, all the butts in the stadium. That means revenue is going to go down. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's an exciting time for sports to if we come out of this pandemic and everything and we're able to get through it, there's not any more crazy shutdowns.
Right.
I know there's still COVID outbreaks and all that, especially in baseball. There's been a couple. I do want to call out that there have been some Yankees players who refuse to get vaccinated. That's probably why they got big blowups going on there. But I know Washington had a big one as well. But it's just we get through this and we get to experience this an actual Premier League season with just no breaks, no nothing, with the Champions League. It's going to be an amazing sports season we got coming up because it's the pennant race of baseball is officially here. This is it. These last 2 months are some of the funnest regular season games you're going to see. Even if your team is blown away because you want to make sure that they stay on point, rest the guys, but still win.
Right. It's strategy is going to be at the next level. I mean, every game is important, especially in the Premier League. But like right now in the baseball, people talk about how many games they play and everything like that. It's like, oh, they lost a game. It's no big deal. But it's like that point where it's like almost like a Premier League game every game where it's like these points matter, these games matter, these runs matter. So people are going to up their game a little bit. And that's
I get more upset with losses now.
So
when we first talked, they started slow, the White Sox, and we were talking about nothing to panic. We were actually saying we panic more if at a certain point they were like this, but now they're 10.5 games in, biggest division lead. Every loss, especially if I think they should have won, it ruins my day.
Yeah, it hurts a little more. I agree.
And it's just like, especially the Royals beating them up. I was just like, I know that's what happens in baseball. Sometimes teams have your number, but at the same time, I was like, there's something going on in their heads at this point with their offense because they're letting Kansas City pitchers look really good against them when Kansas City gets rocked by every other team.
Right.
So it's just.
But I mean, it's like you said, some teams just have their number. I mean, Liverpool's been very infamous with rocking the heck out of Norwich City. Now that they're back in the Premier League, I know that we're going to be like, we're going back to Premier. Back when we had Luis Suarez, he would get hat tricks against the guys, and I was like, man, what did he do? What did they do to him? Like, he had like a personal vendetta against this guy. And I was like, one of them, he almost got 5 goals in. I was like, damn. So
that is exciting.
It is very exciting.
I love how we talked about this before. Teams get relegated and teams get promoted. It forces you to have to always play.
Oh God, yeah.
You're not just playing for draft picks. So it's exciting to see 3 new Premier League teams because, they're going to be battling to not be relegated back to stay in the Premier League. And sometimes you get teams that make an extended run and they move up the table.
I mean, Leicester did that when they won the league. I think it was 2 seasons before they were in the championship and they made their way up to the Premier League. And then won it. Like it's a Cinderella story. Like it's that's the stuff you love to hear about. And like
West Ham's been on a run lately as well.
Yeah, I mean they almost got in the Champions League. Yeah. It came to and that was the sweet spot about the last Premier League. Like it was so tight. Every game mattered. Every other game mattered. Like people were watching other games like simultaneously, being like, "Oh my God!" Like if they tie it, like it completely changes everything.
The last game, they're the last day game, so it's like that.
Right.
Everton could have finished as high as 6th.
Yeah. If all things worked out,
they could have finished lower than 10 too.
Right. So it's I'm just excited, man. We're a week away. I can't wait. So we're texting again about the game. I can't wait to see all my friends at the pub again. I can't wait to get back to that whole Premier League lifestyle, I like to say, during the season. And it's gonna be fun. And
for us, it starts this weekend, but the games will already be going on. So if you guys haven't watched it, you should totally watch some because take it from me, who's a casual Premier League fan, to and you don't have to. You could follow any of the leagues; they're all fun. But I chose Premier League as one of the ones I will follow more, and it's just fun. Like even just check it out, watch some games. I'm telling you guys are gonna like it. Like I think the one thing with soccer that people sometimes they see the scores and they think it's like a boring game. It is not. a 1-0 game might have so many things going on that it might be better than a game that was 4-3. Like it literally, like it just depends on, like it's just, there are other parts of the game besides just the goal.
Oh yeah. My one advice or my one thing, if I could get out of this podcast or just even being a guest star of it, is I hope one person, whoever it may be, whatever city you're in, there's going to be a pub there where locals go that are fans of a team. Go to that pub, watch a game with these people, or like with fans, or find a team that you like, find a team that you identify with, or maybe someone from your nation's playing for, or something like, I like the logo, it looks cool. Go to a game or go to a pub, watch it at a game there, and just soak in the atmosphere because, I may not be at Anfield, but when I go to AJ Hudson's, great pub, it's a Liverpool pub, but it's also a very big Everton pub. The owners are from Everton, but they also keep it open for Liverpool fans and Newcastle fans and all that other stuff. But like being around other people who are so intense into it, you start getting into it too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember. I don't know if you've ever seen this highlight, but it was against Everton. It was Merseyside Derby when Pickford knocked the ball over from the crossbar, came down, and he headed it in.
Yeah.
Extra time. Man, there was beer flying around everywhere. People were hugging each other. It was insane. And I mean, you're not at the stadium, but you got the next best thing. People who care about it and people are going to see it. So, if you're tuning in and you're not a fan of soccer, or you've never really been exposed, give it a try. Go to a pub, go find a place that, it's a game, maybe a derby, maybe a game with some significance in there. Not even then. Like most Premier League games are going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Go there, experience it, have a beer, in the morning. I know it's a little different, but, have a beer, hang out with some people, talk to people. Most people I've talked to that like Premier League soccer are very friendly people, and just, go from there. And next thing you'll be buying shirts and watching the game every day and start crying and being happy during the happy times and sad during the sad times. But, most cities have outlets and pubs where a lot of people meet up, and you meet a lot of cool people there too. So
yeah, absolutely. And another thing that's cool too that I want to show especially for us in North America and the United States, if you're a fan of just sports in general, there are multiple months where you now can watch Premier League early in the day and then everything else at night.
Yes.
So it's just sports all day.
Yeah. One of my favorite times of the year is when the NHL and the NBA are both in playoff mode. You just got back to back to back, and you're seeing all these awesome teams play and go for it. I'm just like, man, this right now is a great time for sports. And the baseball starts right around that time too.
And the start of baseball is usually really fun.
Right.
Diehard fans obviously will watch throughout, but even casual fans will still watch the April and May games usually before they peter out until the September game.
Right. And the Premier League, I think, comes at a good time. They start usually or like early to August. So like right around baseball starting to get a little protraction there too in October. I know the NBA and the NHL, so either preseasons are started or they're already going. Yeah. So right now as a sports fan, I know it's another thing to throw in there, but most of the time it's just like early in the morning. So that way you can, if you want, like a pregame for some soccer. And then after that, you can go watch some, White Sox playoffs baseball, hopefully.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking for a while. It's been, this has been really awesome to be able to sit face to face, dude.
Let's hope it stays that way, and we can continue this.
Absolutely, it's always fun talking, obviously, Premier League as well, and just soccer in general.
Mm-hmm.
Being someone who's kind of new to following the domestic leagues as opposed to the national tournaments, it's just been fun to be able to have someone to talk to about it, and just there's a lot to talk about, and to be someone who's passionate about it is really fun. I would recommend that to someone too. There's probably someone that watches it a little bit that about just what I see on social media. And if you go to those pubs, like you said, that's something that's people are going to talk about. So it's just when you have a sport that's full of passion to begin with, when you look at its history, it's just fun to get into it and just to sit here and talk about sports in general, other things. It's just really fun, and I appreciate that you're able to come on and just and just talk, because so I know I had a couple friends that may be a little shy about the whole podcast format, but it's really just having a conversation, having a beer and just chilling.
Yeah, we literally could have the same exact conversation at AJ Hudson's having a beer after a match.
Yeah.
Or before.
Yeah.
It's sports are a great way to bring people together. And even if it's a team that I don't even like or are supposed to be rivals, like it's something we experience together as people who are passionate for it. And I mean, I didn't play soccer growing up, but I've always liked the sport. I've always connected with it. And I mean, after watching a game, I kind of want to go out there and go play some too, because it's just fun. Like, it's just it's a nice escape to get rid of all the other craziness that's going on in the world right now. Sport is a great way to, like I said, you'll meet people that you'll never expect to meet too. And like when you go to the games too, the camaraderie that you have there and the excitement is, next level.
Oh yeah,
so,
absolutely. So thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks to everyone who's been listening and supporting the SunDried Tomatoes podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed and downloaded the podcast. And to those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. This wouldn't be possible without all of your support. I really do appreciate it. Once again, thanks to Javi for joining me. This was a really fun podcast. I hope to have more face-to-face ones like this as well. Until next month, salute.